What is the good word, everybody? I'm Noah from Techno Buffalo. This is the Apple iPhone 4. This is the HTC Thunderbolt. Both phones are available on Verizon, although this is the AT&T version of the iPhone 4. The Thunderbolt is the biggest, baddest new kid on the block. It's got LTE, it's got an 8 megapixel camera on the back, a 1.3 megapixel camera on the front, it's got Android, it's got HTC Sense, it's got a kickstand. The iPhone 4, still perhaps the most popular smartphone in America, maybe in the world if you're looking at individual model sales, not the whole platform. Either way, it's still the one people want to know. Well, this new thing, the Thunderbolt, is it better than the iPhone? Let's find out. I'm gonna get you! Pardon the pun, but it really is apples and oranges here. You know, it's Android 2.2, it's iOS version 4 right now, and HTC Sense on the Thunderbolt. There are some pre-installed Verizon apps, and they're not removable out of the box, which is too bad. It's always nice to have the option to remove everything. And also, there's no 4G on-off switch. There's no toggle switch for the LTE network on the Thunderbolt out of the box. You can, you know, if you're so inclined to know what you're doing, you can download a third-party one, and that's too bad as well, because it's nice to have that manual control to toggle LTE off if you're not wanting to use it. But both devices have Wi-Fi built in. They have optional mobile hotspot capabilities. The Thunderbolt supports a few more devices. You can support up to 8 devices on the Thunderbolt's mobile mobile hotspot app, whereas iPhone is limited to 5 devices. And then, of course, the LTE network versus this is a 3G only device on AT&T. We'll get into that a little more in just a second. But otherwise, you know, it's really a matter of, do you prefer Android's approach or Apple's approach? So with Android, you've got the widgets, you've got all the customization, you've got HTC Sense on here with some of the built-in stuff, FriendStream, and their new scenes thing where you can easily personalize, you know, everything all at once, or you can go feature by feature, that kind of thing. You've got the ability to add widgets to your home screens and add more widgets. You can use live wallpapers, you know, all that stuff that Android users know and love and like to poke in the eyes of their iPhone-toting friends or frenemies, as it were. You've got some stuff built in here. Slacker Radio's built in, TuneWiki. There's some other stuff built in out of the box here on the Thunderbolt. And then the iPhone, you know, with the iPhone, you've just got that that grid of icons design, and you know, you can do folders now, which you couldn't do before. You know, but that's several months old now at this point, anyway. So basically, you know, it's just a very different approach to how you want to do your computing, or your mobile computing, I should say, your smartphone experience. And then, of course, the ecosystems. You know, Apple. We don't need to get into that here, but iTunes and all that stuff on the Apple side. And then with Android, it's a little more kind of piecemeal in terms of, you know, do you want to get your music from Amazon, or where are you getting it, and how are you dealing with syncing your media? But you know, using Double Twist or something like that. There's no official sync app for Android, all that kind of stuff. But that gets into the platforms and the ecosystems, and you know, that's too much to compare right here. But obviously, you know, the big difference. Android users, some of the Android purists may stay away from Thunderbolt because it is an HTC Sense device, and not you know, stock Android. But again, you know, it's kind of up to you. I personally am a fan of HTC Sense. I really like what they've done. I think it makes it a little bit more elegant and easy to use, but that's just me, and a lot of that is, you know, aesthetics and personal taste. So to talk about the networks for a brief second, you can see in here the 4G LTE icon lit up, and the testing on this device has been really fast. If you saw my unboxing video, I tried running speed test on the Thunderbolt, and since then I found out that speed test, the developers have a fix on the way because it just can't handle the way the Thunderbolt does data buffering, and the results were basically useless. But the device is very, very fast on Verizon's LTE network. I'm entering a URL. On Android, on the Thunderbolt rather, you've got the HTC keyboard, but you've also got other options, keyboard replacements you can install, the swipe system, which has become very popular recently, that sort of thing. On the iPhone, you've got the Apple keyboard, and that's it, unless you want to get into jailbreaking, which we're not really going to cover here. Both keyboards work well. HTC's keyboard has generally been my favorite of the Android keyboards, but I haven't been, especially in the last couple months, tried out all of the keyboard replacements that are out there. But generally speaking, I like the HTC keyboard. I also like the big 4.3-inch display for typing, and when you turn the phones into widescreen mode to type with two thumbs, as I often like to, and this way you really get a lot of room here on the Thunderbolt, which is nice. Again, iPhone certainly works well. Millions of users, wouldn't use it otherwise, unless, you're an Android fanboy calling, yeah, they would, they're sheep. But anyway, it certainly works fine. But this is a case where that extra real estate, you can see just how much physically larger, the keyboard on Thunderbolt, vertically takes up, would take up 2/3 of the iPhone screen there. So, and then you've got the predictive text system, HTC's predictive text system, which I have always really liked. I don't think that Techno Buffalo is in the dictionary here. I'll have to customize that. I'll have to learn how to type. It's hard to type with one finger on camera. So let's go technobuffalo.com, and then I'm going to go ahead and also type in technobuffalo.com on the iPhone. Now both of these phones right now are connected to Wi-Fi. It's the same Wi-Fi network. So this is kind of a rough test of how quickly the devices can load and render the page. Not scientific at all, but let's try it. 1, 2, 3, go. So a little bit faster there on the Thunderbolt, except the that doesn't count. We'll have to do another test because the iPhone was loading up the full version of the page, not the mobile version. So let's try this again. All right, so here's we're going to stage a little test. This is very unscientific, but I'm going to load up the same website on both devices, truehoop.com. I'm not using Techno Buffalo because Techno Buffalo has a mobile theme that was automatically loading on one device and not the other, so that's not fair. But both devices connected to Wi-Fi. It's the same Wi-Fi network. They're both loaded up to go to truehoop.com. And this is just going to be kind of an unscientific test of how quickly the devices can load and render the same web page. You've got the Apple custom A4 processor in the iPhone 4. You've got a Qualcomm, it's a single core, but it's the newer generation of Qualcomm's single core processors in the Thunderbolt. So here we go, unscientific test, 1, 2, 3, go. So loading up, and the Thunderbolt got the early lead. See, they're rendering the pages a little bit differently, kind of interesting. It's neck and neck here. Thunderbolt is the winner. Again, unscientific, but the iPhone, now the iPhone's done. So the Thunderbolt rendered the page out faster than the iPhone did. Roughly the same page, a different ad loaded up. I'm also curious to see, yep, so Thunderbolt also loaded up the Flash-based media player there to watch that video. And same video here on the iPhone, you just have an empty space. That's like one of those ads, right? So we'll hit play, and we'll see if it actually plays.
Like yep. Sandy Will. Sandy Will is an expert in analyzing data and integrating.
And I can go full screen. Can I go full screen here? Will that work? No. Whoops. Oh well. Let's go back. So unscientifically, the Thunderbolt rendered out that same the TrueHoop.com blog faster on Thunderbolt than on the iPhone 4, and that was over the same Wi-Fi network. In terms of data, cellular data, Thunderbolt just blazes. The Verizon LTE network, if you follow Techno Buffalo, you don't want to hear me talk about this again probably, but out here in the San Francisco area and Oakland and the surrounding area where it's turned on, and everywhere else I've heard reports from where it's turned on, it's just very, very, very fast. That being said, been having some issues actually over the past couple of days with the network dropping out. Not sure if it first showed up in the mobile hotspot app, was not just kind of stopped working on the Thunderbolt, and then noticing it yesterday. I also have a Verizon Pantech USB 4G modem that I was using with my laptop. Noticed some issues with that. Been hearing some complaints from people down at CTIA in Orlando this week that the network not working well down there either. So we'll have to see what the deal is with that. But when it's been working, the LTE network, literally I did some head-to-head tests, and it was like 5 times as fast as the Inspire 4G on AT&T, which is AT&T's so-called 4G phone. Very similar to the Thunderbolt, in fact. So there you go. So if you're in an LTE area, assuming they get whatever these little bugs are worked out, the Thunderbolt just blows doors off, just very, very fast. Again, kind of head-to-head, it just boils down to what you want. If you're looking for raw specs, except for the display resolution, Thunderbolt, seemingly faster with that web render test. The cameras are higher resolution. The network is faster if you're in an LTE area. It's got more memory pre-installed, and it's got a kickstand. But experience-wise, it really boils down to what you prefer. Both are high-quality devices. They both work very well in general. Do you want Android? Do you want iPhone? Buying advice-wise, if you're in the market for an iPhone, if you can wait a few months till June, when everybody expects iPhone 5 to be announced, I think it'll be worth the wait. I personally think we're going to see a 4G version, an LTE version for Verizon, and some sort of 4G for AT&T, but we'll see. If you're on Verizon and you want an Android phone, if you're in an LTE market, this is the way to go. Even if you're not, it's a quality device. Droid Bionic with a dual-core chipset coming out soon, and then some rumors about some new HTCs, although I don't know if they're going to head to Verizon right away with the QHD super high-res display. But otherwise, this thing's a beast. It works really well. Again, just these issues being worked out with the LTE network, or something in the device apparently, because I was having that hotspot problem. But there you go. Both really good. I personally prefer the I don't know why I turned it that way. I personally prefer the way that iOS works, so I would go with iPhone myself, but that's just subjective. I also like the smaller form factor, but if it's hard to argue with the 4G, man. It is blazing fast when it's working, right? So there you go. Hope that helps. It's kind of a throwdown. It's kind of a buffalo fight. Can we call it that? I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. Head-to-head. The Thunderbolt, the iPhone 4. Which would you choose? That's really what matters, right? Much, much more on both these devices. Everything coming out of CTIA this week. And whatever's next. 4G, 5G, AT&T buying T-Mobile. What's Sprint going to do? What's Verizon going to do? All that stuff, we got you covered on TechnoBuffalo.com. Till next time, my name's Noah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.